welcome back. And for our MasterCard Player of the Week, I am joined by C9's Blaber. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is your 6th time receiving the award. So congratulations. How are you this overpowered?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it feels good. I think I've been doing pretty good last couple of years. So yeah, I'm really happy to get another one.
So heading into last week, the week that you won the award for, obviously this is your first time with the full starting lineup on C9. You guys had a 2-0 week. First win was a little shaky. Second win looked a lot stronger. What has it been like integrating the intended bot lane onto the team?
Yeah, so it was a bit rough at the beginning, I would say, but it's actually been going a lot better than I would have expected, I guess. I still don't think like we're at our full potential, but I definitely think we're improving a lot. I think when Zven first came in our first scrim games, it was like a little shaky just because they're testing matchups, right? So they're dying a lot. But after the first couple of games, they've been doing really good down there. So I'm really happy with our team overall, and I think that we still have a lot to improve on.
And then looking ahead to your next matchup against CLG today, one thing we've asked you before in previous interviews was to elaborate a little bit on the strength of having C9 around you as you were coming up in comparison to Contractz, who left C9, kind of struggled and is now looking a lot more coordinated with CLG this split. How would you evaluate like his evolution as a jungler, and what do you think it is about C9 that's made you so successful?
I actually think Contractz has been playing pretty well this split. Definitely a lot better than he has in the past, or like last split, I guess. And like happy for him. I think for him it was just unfortunate as well because he goes from like an org that's always winning or top 3, right, to like Golden Guardians who are like 10th place, right, for 3 splits in a row or something like that. And playing on a bad team is obviously gonna hinder your development. I also think when I first joined, I got really lucky. I was able to play LCS like my first split being a pro. Most players have to play through Academy for a while. And I also think Reaper drafted well around me and my strengths. And I think I was able to develop playing with a lot of veterans. And I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, we were actually off screen talking about the necessity for rookie players, especially rookie junglers coming into the league, to have some favorable drafts to really help facilitate them and their play style as they integrate themselves onto a team. How would you evaluate how you've evolved as a jungler from when you first started to now?
I definitely think I've learned a lot, like throughout my career. I mean, most players who've been playing for a long time probably have. I definitely had a lot of weaknesses at the beginning. I still do, but I've been working on them, and I think I used to pretty much only be a carry jungler, and now I feel like I'm able to play multiple styles and either play for the team or play for myself. I'm happy to do both now.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. Good luck later in today's matchup. And now we will head back to the State Farm Analyst desk.
Welcome back to the LCS and the State Farm Analyst desk, which I've been told has been made by many, but now I'm starting to think it's just made by Emily.
Made by one.
Interview tossed to herself, doing another interview tossed to her on the desk.
And boom, she's back. Next, I'm going to throw it to the casters, and she's just going to pop up in the middle of Kobe of Flowers. Yeah, well,
That's Crampin' Raz's
think
style.
about it.
All
right.
I think Emily Nation is a lot more realistic.
We only got about a couple minutes before these two teams take to the stage, and there's some interesting stuff that I want to talk about. First, starting on the side of CLG, this is one of our first place teams, but of course, the conversation around this team has largely been, are they contenders really, though? Do they deserve to be in that top 3? Are they actually a contender? And strength of schedule will always be a massive part of that conversation. So let's start there as they look to take down a very tough opponent today in Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, they beat EG last week, so I don't know why people are still doubting. They're going to take down Cloud9 here today, and then they'll just keep moving on up the standings.
Oh, okay. Like, I was with you in terms of just having faith in CLG. And then when we're talking about Cloud9, that's where I draw the line. I think that Cloud9 is definitely a much stronger team than people see them as. Definitely better than CLG. And for me, the way I would put that in, actually, I wonder if...
Go ahead, keep talking.
Just go.
Okay,
keep talking.
Emily's the first in prediction.
Just keep talking. They'll fly
It starts in the jungle. I think Blaber has been such an exceptional jungler. We saw how he was able to perform last week on the Gragas, his tried and true special. And so it for me comes down to the fact that the players that were already here since week 1 are strong players, performed well in their first game, right? Had a shaky game for Jensen, I would assume. This is a great play that we saw from them when they went into 100 Thieves, got to pick on Abadaga, got the team fight Drake afterwards, Baron afterwards. Like, this is just a team that, sure, slotting in the bot lane is a question mark, but you have no questions on an MVP jungler like Blaber.
So I think the interesting thing about CLG, like going back to their strength of schedule, is like they've had to go through so many like mini tests, right? So it was first like, okay, you're winning. What's up with that? It must just be that you're Seraphine abusers. And then like the next step was like, oh wait, you're just drafting really well. So now what's the next test and what's the next test? And I think this schedule is a massive test for them for some of the reasons that Raz already just pointed out. The C9 is going to be very difficult to defeat.
One might call those mini test quizzes, and this is the midterm, perhaps,
I'll
before we
take
get to
that.
the final.
Yeah.
You were just hyping them up. Are you going to predict them to win? Like, dude, these predictions have been sitting on.
Yeah, thank you very much,
What do you
Mark.
think,
Thank you.
Emily?
Thank you for getting us there. What's it going to be? Is CLG actually a contender? Are they going to be able to take down Cloud9 today?
So I think CLG is legitimately a good team, but I did not pick them to win today.
Waiting for the
which
but.
is always
right
the
there.
catch.
And the shoe drop.
So yeah, I think the big thing, and Blaber kind of covered it in my interview with him earlier, is when he said when the bot lane started, they were feeding a lot. They were trying to figure out matchups. But for me, it does begin with this bot lane. Zven looked really comfortable in obviously a very small sample size. But I think the big thing coming out of C9 that we saw last week is that decisiveness, his coordination with the team already, and the fact that he is a player who has a really good understanding of the game just generally, and his mechanics are obviously going to make him a pretty strong support.
All right, production, fly me up the next two predictions right now. I want to see where these two guys
I didn't
land.
stutter. I
and I'm
said
gonna-
C9.
Yeah,
Boom.
I heard you say C9.
Raz is on
And I
Cloud9,
didn't
Mark.
stutter either. I said CLG. I said, I don't know what people are still waiting for. All right, you're showing me these Blaber highlights. I'm talking about mid lane. That's what I want to talk about because Jensen and Palafox are complete polar opposites, I think, right now with how it comes to they approach the game. Jensen is low jungle proximity. He has a lot of focus on laning. He's very good at his laning. He's actually second in the league right now in CSD at 15. He's pretty good. He's like +5 or something like that. But not much jungle proximity and not much activity actually in the early game. His kills and assists at 15 or low. Palafox on the flip side is the complete opposite player. He has some of the worst CSDs, but still positive goal differentials because he's #1 in kills and assists at 15. So he's actually an extremely proactive player in the early game. I had Dhokla on Hotline League. He was talking about how there's no risk tolerance for him. He is all in all the time. And when you're on a bad team like they were in Spring Split, it makes Palafox look terrible because you're like ride or die with a bunch of idiots running in. But when your team's playing well, he's enabling them to continue to find these wins. I think he's actually the unsung hero of this team where Contractz and Dhokla and a lot of people are picking up a lot of stuff. While his CSD is bad, his goal difference is actually fine because he's assisting the team.
I'd actually argue that in their wins last split, we did see that, right? Like when he and Contractz were able to pop off together in side lanes, especially with picks like TF and Rise, where you're making the most of his like ability to pressure elsewhere on the map. That was when CLG won, even when they looked not nearly as good as they do now.
Yeah, but we saw what Jensen was able to do last week. Even in his words in the interview that we saw from Nick on Invent Global, the idea that like he's not happy with his own performance, but god damn it, his team's happy with his performance. Like I don't care what his own expectations are if he is just smashing it. So it's going to be hard for Palafox and for CLG this game.
I feel like people have rose-tinted glasses on for Cloud9, kind of the way that they did in week 1 for CLG, right? They had, a 2-0 weekend last week, but I'm with Mark. It's CLG in this one. They're going to take it. We're going to game 5. Before we jump into the game, though, we're checking in on the bond between Cloud9's new bot lane.
PD prediction.
I'm ready.
Yep. R.
Focal face. Hello, Zven.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening?
Yeah.
What you mean evening?
You don't know evening? Like
Yeah, I
night.
don't know. Huh?
Our first scrims was Tuesday against CLG. The first couple games were a bit bad.
Good hype, okay? I think just fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just fight.
Yeah.
Come jungle, come mid, don't care. Just fight. Mid jungle top, very bad, but doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We don't care.
We have to try matchup.
I used too early, maybe. Yeah, man.
Oh, now he's good soap, I think. Yeah, very boomer. Yeah. No.
Experience.
Yeah, experience.
Boomer.
Yeah.
Guy.
Welcome back, everybody. It's our last game of the day. I think this has the potential to be the best game of the whole weekend. Kobe has been tagged out, and Mr. Mark Zimmerman has been tagged in.
Let's go.
Let's go.
That was not the best I
That was not, no.
That was better.
All right, they both kind of suck. We got to work on that. We got to work on that synergy. It's okay, because I'm excited for this game, Mark.
Yeah, we need the synergy that Zven and Berserker clearly have, calling him a boomer in the bot lane in a complimentary way. Your experience, you're wizened. You know what's going on.
It's like being like a sage or something, right?
Yeah,
Like,
just call him Boomer instead. Not quite as complimentary, but I'm really excited about that bot lane, seeing how they're going to pair up against CLG, who have been popping off. It was hotly debated on the desk right before this about who we thought was going to win this game, and I agree. One of the best looking ones this weekend.
I'm so excited for it. I love the conversation about how the mid laners play it differently. Jensen, more comfortable scaling up, like being that thing he's the inevitability later on, while Palafox is just like, nah, I'm getting in there.
Yeah, I mean, they're so different. I think Jensen has historically been such a difficult player to gank. He kind of becomes this black hole in the mid lane where he's going to slowly beat your mid laner. He's not going to need his jungler to back him up, and he's going to get this CS lead over time as he exerts his pressure over the game, whereas Palafox is so willing to roam around the map, even sacking waves. I think there's so many mid laners who will go into a conniption if they're supposed to roam before they get priority. They're like, I'm going to lose these 6 creeps to the turret. No!
Like, you guys need to... There's creeps there. We really need to attend to these. But no, not Palafox.
No, you saw his CSD was pretty low, but his goal difference still positive because he goes and makes those plays. So I think this is a really interesting stylistic matchup. These teams are also both aggressive, and goddamn, do we need that in the LCS right now after those last 2 slow games.
Yeah, I'm going to need to see some nice explosive early game action here in this one. Let's take a look at the draft. It's Gragas and Lulu banned out by CLG. Seraphine remains banned. Very, very powerful right now. Got to keep that one out of everybody's hands. As Corki gets banned away as well, that just warms my heart.
Yep, happy to see the Corki ban. The Seraphine buff, funnily enough, was actually a nerf, I would argue, to CLG. Because she became must-ban status.
Now she's ban status, yeah.
But before, CLG was, getting it banned against them because people were like, oh, you're the best, Seraphine team in the league, whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe teams would have let it go through. But now there's no way anyone's letting Seraphine go through. So as we've already seen, though, CLG has more in the tank last week, getting different drafts going and grabbing the Senna first pick right out the gate.
Okay, very early Senna pickup here for CLG. Tahm, Kench, Senna's best buddy, is of course still available, so we'll see if that's what they end up drafting next to it. But there's plenty of options over here for C9 as well. Of course, Fudge, a notorious memer, has to just let everybody know.
The sinner. Fudge looking at the Renekton pick. Of course, that's not going to get locked in. The switch back to Zeri, as expected. Feels like we're seeing a lot of Zeri Senna bot lanes right now as it continues to stabilize down there. The Twitch disappeared a little bit with lack of first pick Zeri. It felt like more of a counter pick, and so with the Senna taken away already, like I said, probably TK coming in, unfortunately, but you can still see some exciting Senna lanes. We've seen really crazy experimentation around the world, even not on Senna. There's Ashe bot lane with Imperial Mandate and stuff. Like, you can do something else if you want, CLG. Oh.
Well, they don't. Unfortunately, it's just going to be
trying to talk them into it.
The tried and true. It's Senna, Tahm, Kench versus Zeri and Yuumi there in the bottom lane. A lot of times teams are going to go for junglers now. We'll see if they want to make that play or if it will be a solo lane choice instead before that next round of the bans comes through. Okay, Yone locked in for CLG.
I like this, throwing down the gauntlet a little bit by Palafox here. Jensen has had 2 Yone games, one hot, one cold, and I think he likes that into a lot of the control mage matchups. If you're going to pick Azir, he's going to be very happy to pick the Yone. And I think this is kind of a call out saying like, well, what else are you going to pick into it?
Yeah.
And Palafox laying it down as we were just hyping him up about this actual matchup.
Well, Cloud9, okay, they're going to lock in their jungler here. So Udyr picked up for Blaber. Udyr with Yuumi can be very scary as well. Just kind of turns him into an absolute maniac race car, but got to get there.
Gotta get there. This is one of those comps that C9 is starting to put together that's just this big meatball run at you comp, where everyone's going to run really fast, going to get set up by the Yuumi on the Udyr. We'll see what they round that comp out with, as there is a bit of a mismatch now because jungler taken for C9, mid laner taken for CLG.
Well, Lilia is the next ban here on the Cloud9 side. CLG knows they have to aim at solo laners in this second half of the ban phase, and that first ban of theirs will be Fiora.
Fiora taken away, getting rid of some of that counter pick potential for the side of Fudge, knowing that you'll probably see the enemy mid laner now matched first, give counter pick.
Yep.
Up there. And I do like the Lilia ban by C9 here, because while it's not the highest priority champion for North America, with the AD mid lane already taken, Senna also in the bot lane paired up with not a mage that she's farming or feeding the gold into, means that there could be a lack of magic damage on the side of CLG if it's not coming from the jungler. You're basically going to eliminate it into only the top lane, but then you also have counter pick on top lane. So I do like getting rid of the Lilia there, the most prominent AP jungler.
And the other ban for C9 in this last half of the draft is the Wukong. Looking at the fact that CLG doesn't already have their own jungler, they can ban that one away, knock them down the tier list a little bit. LeBlanc, the final ban here for CLG. As C9, which one's it going to be? Who are they going to play into the Yone here? Heimerdinger, of course, always a fan favorite, but unfortunately, almost never locked in.
And almost never locked in. Ooh, gonna take the Azir into it. So I get some boost from the chat. I will say this is a fun matchup in the sense that the Yone has the ability to win lane against it, so there still will be a skill matchup at least. But I agree, not as interesting as a Heimerdinger. Berserker.
Yeah! Justice for the Donger! Always hovered, never locked in.
Where's Organism, you know?
Yes! Shout out to players, go watch it.
Unfortunately, no Heimerdinger in this game.
Ooh, okay. The Zoe picked up for CLG tells me that that's going to be mid-top lane Yone instead.
So that was one of the things we didn't cover, was the flex for the Yone into the top lane. It's been played a fair amount recently in the top side, and Dhokla has done it himself. So this was something that you got to assume C9 did their homework on, knowing that that could potentially go up there.
Well, what's the jungler going to be, CLG? What is that final pick to round out this composition? Viego locked in. How do you feel about that?
Viego, it's a pretty interesting combination of champions. It's a lot of range with the Senna and the Zoe, but then looking for the right time to pounce. So the double melee kind of bruisery assassin is going to be waiting for people to get chunked low and then try and blow them up. Right now, C9 just have the ball comp. We'll see if they do something interesting in the top lane. Crowd's getting hyped for it, but I don't know.
Cloud9's having way too much fun with baiting the crowd. Every single pick, they're going for it. But it's Tryndamere locked in. Tryndamere versus Yone in the top lane.
I gotta say, I'm excited for it. Melee versus melee matchup. You have to feel like it's pretty good for Tryndamere early on. Just the chicken shout taking away so much AD right away, lowering that attack damage, being able to heal up as well. Yone having a little bit probably tough time in that matchup.
And Tryndamere already is a bit notorious, infamous, whatever you would want to say, for his ability to just have so much movement later on as he gets lower cooldowns, as he just constantly spins and crits and spins and crits. And it's only going to get worse with a Yuumi attached to him too. So plenty of good options for Zven to attach to here for the Cloud9 comp. Over on the other side though, Contractz going to be looking to go to Reset City, my friend.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing. Like I said, if the range of the Senna and Zoe can get people low, you can maybe be the one that goes in, finishes off that kill, start snowballing through that team fight with the resets. And it will be hard because there's a lot of zone control on the side of C9's composition. Front to back team fighting for the most part with a 4-1 split of the Tryndamere, assuming that he can get ahead.
I'm so ready for this game, Mark. I am so ready for C9 versus CLG. I want to see some early action. I want to see some explosive fights. I want to see not the 25 minutes of no kills that we got earlier.
No, there's no way they're going to do this. C9 and CLG have been bloody games for the most part this split for them, and especially for CLG side. They've had a number of the best games this split. Late game fights versus FlyQuest versus EG. They were bangers last week. Hopefully they deliver again versus C9 here.
All right, let's rock and roll. Do we get anything at level 1? The past couple of games have just been the teams fanning out, kind of drawing this line of scrimmage. Looks like we're going to get something similar here in this one too. Blaber and Contractz going to see one another there hanging out around the river. And Zven has got a message for all the C9 fans at home here too.
I want to say to the fans that it's really awesome that there's fans in the studios. The atmosphere was absolutely incredible during week 2 when I was there. Our wins were so much better because of all the fans. So thank you to people that cheer for me, and I hope that it gets even better with time.
Perfectly timed with the Cloud9 chants.
You love it, man.
I feel like for a lot of pros, just, you know, so long playing at home. A couple of his championships here in North America were no crowds. He had the one in his bedroom, basically, as we had a little bit of trading early on. Then they had the one in the empty arena up in Griffith Park, you know. I feel like for Zven, a lot of his championships, unfortunately, did not have crowd's there, so I'm sure it means a lot for him to get back, hear those C9 chants.
Well, we've got the bottom laners finding their way into the lane. Now Yuumi still hanging out in that brush. There is a ward on the red buff that will see Blaber starting there. Junglers starting on opposite sides of the map, so they'll be pathing in opposite directions. We'll see if that means Blaber can get anything done here in the bottom lane as he makes his way down there with that Udyr, who is very fast in the jungle phase.
Yeah, should be able to get a bit of a clear speed advantage against Viego. Both teams did have a pretty good idea of where they were starting. There's obviously that ward on the red buff that saw the Udyr, and then they cleared out the ward that Cloud9 dropped on the flip side of the map, but that happened late enough that you can assume the Viego's staying on the bottom side. So most likely that means there's going to be some attention in the top side for CLG, and C9's going to be making their way down to the bot lane, try and make something happen down here.
Well, we'll keep an eye on those junglers as time moves forward, but we've already got a little bit of trading back and forth here. Level 1 between these bottom laners. Of course, it's not that big of a deal for Senna. She constantly heals herself whenever she fires off the Q, so no big deal.
It's going to be one of those lanes. There's a lot of damage traded, but a lot of healing as well. Yuumi being able to keep them topped off. Definitely the matchups to pay more attention to is almost a little bit of an engage there.
Poome trying to go in for that knock up there, but Cloud9 doing a good job not getting hit. Means that the fight doesn't go as bad as it could have. Luger still constantly just trying to get as many auto attacks as he possibly can. Gotta play aggro with that Senna, take advantage of that harass. Contractz making his way into the enemy jungle here, chasing after Blaber's Udyr. Blaber is up 1 camp. Down here in bottom, Luger and Poome continuing to trade aggressively, but Luger does have to be careful. He's only got 200 HP left.
Yeah, gets a little low trying to get the push there. They do end up getting it. And Contractz, contrary to what I was going to say, actually goes for a blue buff contest onto the Udyr, not going for topside pressure, and instead working with that bot lane priority to steal it away, though it didn't happen on camera. You can see Contractz does indeed have the blue buff, and he's just helping setting up a lot of control for CLG down on the bot side here.
And you love to see that, right? Play around these guys, enable them. Let this Senna and Tahm Kench just get nice and farmed up. Big and scary. Contractz walking back up through the mid lane now. Again, this isn't really a gank. It's just the fastest path towards the other crab, and that's where they're headed.
I like it. Heads up play, playing through Contractz a little bit by getting him priority in the bot in the mid lane, allowing him to go. Thumbs up, everyone. No one saw that. No one saw that.
Yeah, totally. Well, all right, Contractz will throw down the mist. He's got Spectrum already. Okay,
hey, there we go. Let's go, Contractz.
Second time's the charm.
Man, Scuttlecrab's got feet. He's able to break his ankles a little bit there. But good control off the mid and bot pressure there for Contractz. Getting a little bit of a CS lead against the Udyr, which I think is important to do because Udyr's clear is pretty crazy, and he kind of just wants to cycle his camps, get wards out, make sure that you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And by getting these invades off, getting the blue buff, the crabs, you're limiting what the Udyr can really do in the early game. And I thought that was a pretty heads-up idea beyond just doing the standard clear.
Yeah. Well, Cloud9, they are up very slightly in terms of gold overall, but honestly, nothing really to write home about. You can see the biggest CS advantage is down here in bottom lane, 36 versus the 17 that Poome has been able to farm up on the Tahm Kench. So that's where most of that lead has manifested itself up here in top. Big wave building up as Fudge is going to have that one pushing in here soon. Dhokla, however, just doing fine. He's cool here on the Yone, just sort of chilling out, waiting for the wave to push towards him, and he'll farm it all up. As Palafox keeping trying to trade aggressively with Jensen here in mid.
Yeah, stepping forward through those soldiers as another aggressive trade in the bot lane, gets the exhaust out.
Nicely done there, forcing the cleanse out of Berserker, the exhaust out of Zven. No summoners spent from CLG in that either.
No, nice little advantage there. They, like you said, down a little bit in CS. I think they were trading a little over aggressively to make sure they got the shove in the bot lane. I'm sure there were some -1s in Twitch chat when the cannon was missed. There's nothing they like doing more than counting missed cannons.
Well, there's nothing that your opponent likes doing more than counting those missed cannons as they're building up advantages
Very
too.
happy, yeah.
It always feels good when you see the other guy miss the cannon minion, but Berserker and Zven now with that wave shoved back towards their opponents. They're the ones with control here in the bottom lane. They've got Blaber in this bot side river here as well. We've seen a couple pretty early Drake takes in the past couple of games, but no Drake on the menu here just yet. Blaber moving into the lane to help them get this shoved out. But Contractz shows up now too. Here comes the potential knockup, but Poome's not gonna get it. Finds a lick, there's the flash, the stun, and Blaber's done. First blood over to CLG.
Wraparound coming from Palafox, though. They might not seep on this play. They can still get the shove in. There's a little bit of a creep, and Palafox gonna stop recalls.
Palafox going in for this. Oh, but he misses the bubble. Berserker's still on the run here. Palafox looking to go further. Throws out the Paddle Star. All right, Cloud9 gets their bottom lane out, but it's still a 1-0 game now for CLG.
Knew CLG wasn't gonna let this one be slow. They go ahead. C9 were trying to get the shove in to get a reset off. Blaber just shows in lane, but they couldn't get the push in time for Contractz to also show up and stop that. They also get to grab this dragon on the back end as a reward and almost got more from it. And that's what we're kind of talking about CLG. They're always pushing the pace. This is a team that's so down to scrap. And last split, they had a lot of bad plays that they did not know when to turn away. This flipped the switch play by Roccat. One of those times where they were good to keep going in here. Contractz collapsing, and Poome starts it off, though he doesn't get the knock-up, baiting Blaber to come back forward in, not knowing exactly how far away Contractz was. That black mist combination of Senna and Viego corrupted together. There we go. Find the stun, get the kill, and then right here, if this sleep landed, would have been able to get that kill. You saw him holding it, just barely misses, but that's that aggression that we want to see out of this CLG team, always looking for a little bit more out of the play.
Absolutely. Catch them off guard. Make them double think about these things. Ooh. As now, Palafox could be in some trouble. Finds the sleepy trouble bubble back onto Fudge, so he's able to just walk away from it. Palafox is fine.
Palafox able to get away from that nice little roam by Luger, of all people, to the mid lane to help. He might have gotten out of there just with the sleep himself, but to make sure he stayed safe. Luger showing up there. And I also like Fudge making that little roam down from top to mid. A lot of the times when people end up on these split push champions, they think they're on an island and they turn their brain off and they stop looking at chat and they AFK split push.
Yeah.
You know, give them...
Uh-oh. Jensen sees the mist coming out. Nice max range stun there for Contractz. Does he want to chase Jensen any further? No, he does not. Not sure exactly where Blaber might be waiting, so he doesn't want to overcommit to this. Does not want to end up getting punished for that, but he at least scares Jensen off, keeps the turret intact, barely any damage done to that first plate, but Jensen will be able to shove this next wave right back into the tier 1 as Palafox is still working his way back down that lane.
Yeah, nice little chunk up by Contractz. For a second, I wasn't sure how he was going to try and keep chasing forward with his ultimate, but good decision not to, given you have no flash, so if that ends up getting turned around, you won't have any way out. And CLG stabilized the gold lead right now, and they're going to try and continue this snowball. Doing a little bit of a half roam up while Contractz grabs this, but realize he's probably going to be able to grab this himself, even though there is a ward there.
Yep, there's a ward on it. Cloud9 are very aware of this. You saw they had the don't go there ping right on top of it, just letting everybody know, hey, we're not challenging anything for this. Nobody needs to rotate. Don't lose any extra resources trying to do anything about it. Luger's about to face
There's a bear.
Check. Luger's about to face check. There is a bear in there. Run away! Luger gets out, but it cost him his flash.
Yeah, had to burn that one. It was a tiger actually in the brush, technically.
All right.
And then it was a bear. And then it was a phoenix.
Lots of stuff in that brush, Mark. None of which Luger was happy to see.
Nope, all of them were trouble. Lost both summons there, actually got the heal out as well. Blaber did not have his ghost quite up yet, but it was, you know, almost up. And if they weren't doing a good job keeping track of the summoners, you might not have known. And so Luger blowing those, rather be safe than sorry.
Well, I want to see if Cloud9 can punish that now then. I mean, Senna's one of those champions where without flash, if they're shoved up, they're not going to be in a really good spot to try to do anything about it. So we'll keep an eye on whether or not Blaber can find his way back down to the bottom lane, whether or not they'll be able to punish that double summoner spell expenditure from the Senna. As Contractz goes back to base, he's almost got his Sunderer put together, but just not quite there. Meanwhile, back in top lane, we haven't really been paying much attention to this one because it's kind of just two melee guys with no mana bars farming minions.
It's not been interesting, I'll give you that. But I will say, the matchup not looking quite as bad as I was thinking it might for Dhokla. You see him giving a lot of respect here. It was a 47% win rate in favor, or against the Yone. Tryndamere winning 53% of the time in Diamond Plus that I saw in solo queue in the patch. So I assumed it would be kind of difficult, but right now it's actually just a small CS lead that will get evened out a little bit more as that next wave comes into Dhokla, who has done a decent job just kind of playing weak side Yone for this game because there's been a lot more about the mid and bot lane.
Yep, I mean, FTX total gold on the left side of your screen here. Unsurprisingly, Contractz, the only person in the game with a kill, is the one topping those charts. Blaber and Berserker hot on his heels. As Contractz walks through mid lane there, does not want to jump into a straight up 2v2 with Blaber and Jensen here just yet, so we'll disengage that one with Mist. Meanwhile, back up in top side, Fudge just making sure he can get this wave shoved up all the way underneath the turret so that Dhokla's not able to stall that out, get any sort of success off of that one. Should be a good opportunity for Fudge to go ahead and base himself. Meanwhile, the ulti from the Yuumi trying to disengage as CLG looks for Berserker, but not enough damage to take him out.
Yeah, still a nice combo by CLG there, using the Yuumi as a delivery service for the Senna route, which then gets easily followed up by the Tahm Kench. Put enough pressure on that you saw a couple ultimates burn there. Zven now with no ultimate means that it's very easy for Contractz to come down here, drop this Rift Herald, and funnel some more gold onto his bot lane.
Feels good. Herald coming in there. Will definitely get the 2 plates. Can they put enough damage to get the 3rd? Since the Herald hit the charge before they did a lot of the work, that does mean extra resistances here on this plate. It is going to be more difficult to take that out. I don't know if they actually end up getting that, if the Herald is just slightly delayed, if they activate it 1 or 2 seconds later and those auto attacks into the turret were not against increased resistances.
Right. It probably would have worked, but also it's only 11:30 in. You know, it's not like a do or die situation. They'll be able to grab this turret off this next push because Contractz is still hovering around. They have enough pressure down here to most likely grab this. As I say that, I lie.
Okay.
And they bag away.
They don't get it.
Minions.
Nope. Okay. The plate remains there. CLG going after their 2nd Drake of the game. They got that Ocean one earlier. Now Infernal as number 2. Poome jumps over the wall there, just keeping him scared, making him focus on the big old fish instead of on the Viego in the river. 2 Drakes for the side of CLG. Top side, it's a play being made, and it's Dhokla finding himself in the dirt. Cloud9 are on the board.
He got planted in that gank, just exploded, no time to flash or exhaust. Something I forgot to call out, not a TP in the top lane, taking double combat summons for both of them, Flash, Ghost for Fudge as well. But on the flip side, because they saw that, okay, you're up in the top side, Blaber, very easy to grab that dragon as well as put some extra pressure down. Going to be able to finish off this turret in a second here, but it's taking a little longer than they want, setting up a potential dive.
Okay, Contractz is ready to go. Yuumi ult, Zeri ult, everything coming out from Cloud9. Berserker tries to make it happen. Contractz going in here for the ulti. C9, beautiful outplay in the 2v3.
C9 turned that dive around. Might not be done yet. Jensen showing up.
Jensen scooping Palafox back towards his AD carry. Jensen now going to be sped up by Zven's Yuumi. Palafox at 100 HP. Jensen's in hot pursuit. C9 gets another one.
Turn the play around the bot lane, winning all over the map right now. They get the kill on the top side. They turn the dive around the bot side. Up to a 2,000 gold advantage in their favor.
The crowd is loving it, Mark.
Their crowd is loving C9's early game. They're loving the early game in general, actually getting some scrapping down the bot side. And
no!
Why'd I say it? Why'd I do it? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't cast. I didn't think.
I don't blame you.
I didn't think I'd cause the pause.
Well, okay. Hopefully we can get back into this one very soon. This has been a nice action-packed early game. I love to see it. I'm glad that we're seeing moves, and I really want to applaud Berserker and Zven for just going like they did after CLG, like when that dive was initially happening. They're like, okay, they're about to do the dive. We can't just sit here and die, just try to kill them first. They force Tahm Kench to devour, and then they turn it around, the exhaust on the Contractz so he can't find the execute. I really liked how they played that.
Yeah, Fudge playing to the crowd a little bit there, but I absolutely agree. If you're ever getting pincered in the bot lane, and it's like 4v2, 3v2, you're almost always going to have a better result by putting your own pressure back onto one half of that pincer attack.
Right.
And in that situation, the Senna split away, like you said. It forces them to actually become defensive on the dive, and TK has to use his ult, and then there's no Senna damage. And luckily, we're right back in the game. Not so bad.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Was that one of the mythical sippy cup spills?
Well, I'm not going to question it. I'm just glad that we are back in the game. 10 seconds left before turret plates fall. Nearly a 3,000 gold lead for C9, just about 14 minutes into the game mark. That feels great for these guys.
Feels great. They should have a small scaling advantage, I would argue, in terms of the Azir, Zeri, Yuumi becoming an absolutely devastating team fight. Senna does technically scale towards infinity, you know, but I think just in terms of how the comps are going to play, if C9 get ahead, it becomes very hard for CLG, who have to land a lot of the poke to buy that space in order to walk in, and certainly it's still hard because Yuumi can always keep people topped up.
Well, CLG is going to grab the first turret of the game here in bottom lane, so a nice little bit of money in their pockets, trying to bring this one back under their control. Let's take another look at this dive that we were talking about below the tier 1 turret.
Yep, there's a little bit of a split between Luger and Poome there as they were trying to corral them against the wall. That forces a defensive ult very early from Poome, and because the turret stayed up and Luger wasn't hitting during it, they never really got Berserker close enough to threaten to kill him. And then Palafox was a little slow in showing up on this play, and Jensen was following close behind. And so after the early death of Contractz there's no way they can actually win that skirmish, and Jensen does a really nice job flash following and getting his last Q off.
Great stuff from C9, and now they're shoving up the mid wave, walking back up towards that Rift Herald pit because the second one of the game is alive, and C9 are ready to go after this one themselves. Remember, it was CLG that took the first Herald. It's CLG that have both of the early Drakes as well. They've been dominating the neutral game up until this point, but this is C9 ready to challenge for that. CLG coming in. Herald down to 300 HP. It's going to be stolen by Palafox.
Palafox, whether if you picked up a smite off the ground or something, or how he exactly stole that, but CLG are running for their lives now after that.
Well, Fudge is going in. He's got the Zven attached to him, the Yuumi ulti. Poome trying to get Luger away to safety now as well. C9 chasing CLG out of their own jungle.
Yeah, a little dicey there. I really like the angle of Zven's ultimate, collapsing onto Dhokla, but targeting over the wall onto the bot lane of CLG. And a little bit of a funny direction to barf Luger back up at. Made it so he had to flash away there, lost his summoners again. Feels bad. Luger keeps losing his summoners in these little skirmishes.
Yeah, especially on a champion like Senna, especially on a champion with no built-in mobility. Let's see again.
Yeah,
how did Palafox get this? Okay, yeah, it's just the smite.
Yep, he's got the blue smite, able to get over the wall here, just times it. Did Contractz not? Oh yeah, there was no smite if the... It's not a replay bug. There was no smite actually on Blaber, so it got down to 300 health. It was there for a while, and I assume they both junglers have hands, so they easily would have gotten that if the smite was up. Not the case. And then there was that nice ult I was talking about by Zven to get the flash out, but still you're pretty happy. I don't think they were able to pick up the eye, so just a neutralization of that objective from C9, stopping them from getting it.
I mean, you get the money for killing it, I guess. That's, it's like a cannon minion. So.
Honestly, I'd rather have my AD carry with flash
than
that
get the cannon
gold.
minion?
Yeah,
the super big purple cannon minion in the river?
No, not worth. I mean, it's worth denying the C9 gold. It's really the true prize there.
And that also means that neither side is going to have a Herald to try to use for this upcoming Drake. CLG with those first two, like I pointed out, 10 seconds until this next one spawns. Fudge is going to be able to knock down the tier 1 turret here in the bottom lane, so neither side going to have one of those to fall back to if this fight goes sour.
It's going to be a tough fight, though. There's already a mythic item on Fudge's side, but none for Dhokla, having to stop down a little bit more for components. So this is a bit of an odd numbered fight in terms of the items completed.
Scuttle Crab secured by C9. Fudge hanging out here on the flank, ready to swoop in, but Fudge gets caught. This is not ideal. Has to use the Undying Rage very swiftly. Palafox goes in, Gale Force! Execution! CLG gets that, but now they've tried to continue the fight against C9 back here in the river. Dhokla's very low, tries to find a knockup, but he won't get it. Poome in trouble, trying to tunnel away there with the Abyssal Voyage. He's gonna be taken down by Berserker. You got Luger under pressure, Blaber going in after him. 2 dead on the side of CLG. Berserker is not done. Jensen continuing right behind him. They don't even need him. It is a double kill to Berserker.
Palafox makes a pick-off onto Fudge, but that 4-man core of C9, like we were saying, so strong. Just so much chase-down potential between the Udyr, the Zeri, and the Yuumi, speeding everybody up, making sure they stay on top of them. Absolutely running CLG over in that fight. It was really nice 2 bubbles in a row by Palafox to start this fight out. We'll knock up there first. Then there's the damage, the root, and then the sleep. Nice just chain CC combo to force them out. During this time, the rest of C9 is just focusing down the dragon, and so while they do get this kill here, once the dragon's done, it's a very easy turn. Dhokla goes in, doesn't really find anyone other than Jensen, so he's knocked down low. Luger has a nice ultimate, but they just don't have enough damage if they don't land the poke ahead of time. And the rest of C9 just stays topped up with the Zeri, and it's so hard to actually kite and disengage in Udyr, who, despite the early control that Contractz has actually become massively farmed in this game. Blaber has done a great job finding his farm.
And Berserker is just running people down here with this Zeri. You can see 3,600 damage dealt in the last team fight. Contractz did 130. So...
It's Viego versus Zeri. Is that really a fair comparison?
Viego's kind of a terror if he gets ahead, but as you said, it's Blaber who's just taken over the jungle right now. 3-level lead for the Udyr. 57 farm ahead of the Viego. Contractz has just fallen so far behind this game.
I think for the most part, CLG was willing to put Contractz a little behind what happened anyways in the jungle matchup, but to try and snowball the bot lane, they sent a Rift Herald down there, they made a number of ganks happen, and the fact that C9's bot lane did a great job of, one, winning in farm despite the attention that was coming down their way, turning ganks around, and then comboing with their team to actually get the first turf themselves in the bot lane. Like, they did such a good job neutralizing plays like this over and over again by CLG, just having such a hard time finding a foothold in this game.
And I mean, mid lane's farm is at least close, but looking at top, that's a plus 25 for C9. And it's way more extreme in the other roles. Jungle's plus 60, bottom lane's plus 60. C9's got this massive gold advantage, and a ton of it is from those farming leads they built up for themselves. So the question I want to ask you, Mark, is if you're CLG, what's the plan from here? We're just now at 20 minutes, and things are looking pretty grim.
It's hard. Both teams have similar-esque team comps, though C9's is, I think, much stronger in straight front-to-back team fights. And so for CLG, they need to find pickoffs like they found onto Fudge early in these fights, a combination of sleep, center roots, whatever you can to get someone down low, but you actually need to finish them off and get onto the right people because Berserker and Jensen are so strong right now, and if you don't actually kill them, Yuumi will just top them both up. So pickoffs in the Vision game is really what you're playing for right now because I don't think anyone can stop Fudge either in the side lane.
Yeah, Fudge is currently running the show up there in top side as CLG will try to defend their tier 1 turret. But Blaber is just this massive wall that can lead the charge for C9. Poome sticking around a little bit too long here. Jensen shoots him forward there with the soldiers. It won't even matter. Blaber's still chasing. Luger gets himself away. C9 with 1 kill, but now they might be in a little bit of trouble. Dhokla jumping in, finds the damage, finds the shutdown. Contractz gets the kill on the C9 AD carry, but now he's dead to Jensen afterwards. Fudge getting himself back away. It's a bloody one here in mid lane.
Oh, not done yet.
Nicely done. Palafox getting the kill on Fudge. He leaves the Tryndamere ulti on the table. Feels bad. Dhokla jumping back in there. Oh, Dhokla. Big Dokes. All right, he's fine. He's fine.
A little bit of danger. Might not be done yet. Palafox playing to the side. Jensen can't quite get out there as E comes up. They get out. Ends up a 2 for 2, I believe, at the end of that Fudge. Ended up getting dropped with his ultimate still up. Slight misplay there, because otherwise I think that fight goes much better for Cloud9. And at the tail end of that, Yuumi got slept, jumped onto someone, and started ulting. And then the slept finished channeling and knocked her out unconscious. We'll go back to that in a second. First, just CLG are trying to defend themselves however they can. I do like sticking up for yourself a little bit and not just ceding objectives. Almost got that ult off in time by Luger to maybe save him here. And then Dhokla has a nice 3-man ultimate to turn this one around, bunching everyone up, giving them a target to focus down. And importantly, taking down the Zeri, who, like I said, is one of the things you have to do. Make sure you kill a priority target early on. Fudge turning around right here with his ghost, spins back in, just gets popped before his ultimate goes off. Not quite ready for that damage.
Yeah.
Right idea.
You can't do those. You can't do those. If you're going to make that play with Tryndamere, you got to be ready to just pop the ulti. Even if you pop it a second early, I'd rather just have 1 less second of it than never get it at all.
It's true. But when you watch someone perfectly time the ultimate, don't you just think they're so cool?
Okay, perfectly timed ultimate is a dopamine hit. I'll give you that. Like, that definitely makes you feel cool as the Tryndamere player. But you know what's cooler than feeling cool? Not being dead.
Dubs.
So, yeah, you need to, winning the game. But C9 is still looking like they're in a really good spot to do just that. 5,000 gold ahead. Fudge is pushing the tier 2 turret bottom. That one's going to crumble now too. The Tryndamere continuing to just be this massive threat. He's got the Gale Force. He's got Navori Quick Blades. He's so elusive.
He's very elusive. He's very dangerous. And it just feels so hard from CLG from here. I mean, C9 have done such a good job of getting their carries farmed up. And I just don't feel there's enough damage on CLG's side, enough consistent damage to actually punch through Blaber's health bar if a Yuumi's attached to him. It just feels so doomed, and so that's why they need to find angles. But Berserker is usually super well positioned. I mean, he came out into the scene in spring. It was a little bit of a quiet start for him, but in the middle of spring, he was winning C9 games just with his team fighting alone. And so if your win con is kill Berserker in a team fight, that's usually really hard to do. His positioning is immaculate.
Yeah, I would always call him, when I was talking to people behind the scenes, I would call him Chekhov's AD carry back in spring because we were never having conversations about like, wow, watch him pop off in lane or do this or do that. But all you do is say, yep, Berserker's down there, and then 15 minutes later, once you get to the team fights, then he's gonna come back. Then his point in the story has reached its climax, right? Like, then he's ready to go.
Foreshadowing, yeah. You mentioned him once early.
Yeah, you mentioned him once to set it up, and then you get the payoff later, and the guy is just an awesome team fighter. He's so much fun to watch. But CLG, they're not having quite as much fun watching this one.
No, they're in a lot of trouble. I mean, Cloud9 have stopped their dragon stacking as well. That was one of the other potential win cons, maybe, but that one fight where they were able to, one, pick off Fudge at the beginning, but it allowed the dragon to go over to C9. Now they're up to 2 of the Mountain Souls, or excuse me, Mountain Dragons. And it's actually a very frustrating dragon for CLG's Pomp, which is predicated on landing poke before a fight.
Yeah.
And they just get fat extra resist and armor and shields stacked on top of it with a Yuumi that can then heal you. You get more value out of this dragon buff that you're stacking when you have fielding on your team. Effective HP is really cool, and it just becomes so hard.
Contractz getting into a scrap with Blaber that he does not want anything else to do with.
Yeah, Blaber's still full HP. This is what we're talking about. It's so hard to make this damage stick against C9's comp.
Blaber is just, he's the X factor here. Palafox gonna get run down, rooted up by the Yuumi. Blaber backing away a little bit now. He is pretty far separated from the rest of C9. CLG grouped up as a full unit here in the mid lane. Azir turret summoned by Jensen. Sleepy Trouble Bubble finds him, but there will not be any follow-up. He gets himself back over the wall safely, just fine. What's the move here for C9, Mark? You want to see like a Baron play? You just want to let him have Fudge play the split push game for a while? Maybe get caught by CLG here in the mid lane? Maybe not. Jensen getting himself out. Blaber wants to turn it back around. CLG's at least able to remove that Sun Disc.
Whew. I like the attempt by CLG there, try and find a pick off on the mid lane, but this is what Jensen's known for. The fancy footwork makes it so hard to pin him down, and in the meantime, they got side wave push in both top and bot lane there. C9 operating as a unit, and I know this is going to be really boring, Captain Flowers, but just take it slow.
This is, hey.
You ask what C9 should do, you keep stacking those dragons, you start setting up some vision around Baron, you first CLG at a face check, and you take it easy, because you are going to outscale them. Both your side lane should win his 1v1, and your 4-man should win the 4v4. There's no need to flip a Baron situation from here, so.
Right.
I gotta say, I'm sorry, but it's the boring correct answer.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally understand that. It's just the way that the game is set up. It's the way that they can easily keep winning this. Fudge just continues building that strength in the split push situation. He continues just being able to mow these things over. Now let's go see what the mid lane might look like as Berserker takes a little bit of damage here. Blaber, he's not worried. Ben just jumps on him, heal him, no problem.
Oh no, 20% of my HP is gone.
Oh no, it's back. There it is.
Tragic. All right,
do it.
Dragon in 50 seconds. I feel like CLG are going to end up forcing this because there's really no advantage to waiting for longer when the scaling advantage is in your enemy's favor. So while it is a pretty doomed fight to look for, 6,000 gold down, you still kind of have to do it.
It's the winningest play.
Damned
right?
if you do, damned if you don't. So may as well go down swinging.
There's not going to be a play that feels good to make from this situation, so you have to find whichever one feels the least bad. And if that's going for a dragon with a 6k deficit, then it's going for a dragon with a 6k deficit. It's only 20 seconds until that dragon spawns. Contractz creeping through the mist. But C9 is ready for him.
I really like Blaber abusing the mountain rift there a little bit.
Well, he's turned on the ghost, so they're ready to go. C9 wants to commit to this fight. Fudge is coming around from the side now, too. Poome trying to get himself away. Thick Skin keeps him alive for a couple of extra seconds, but he gets cut down by Fudge. Contractz wants to turn it around, zoning Berserker away from the fight. Dhokla buys some time here. Fudge gonna lose the ulti there as Blaber gets taken down low, too. C9 are at least scared away a little bit now. Dhokla goes in, flash for the Q3, but Dhokla falls! Jensen grabs the killing spree on that one, but Berserker dies to Luger on the back half. It's a 2-for-1 favoring C9. The Dragon, now the target.
Yep, Cloud9 able to fall back onto the Dragon, 2-for-1 in their favor, but they did drop Berserker again in that situation. We'll see if they can find an exit kill.
Dragon secured. Palafox looking for Jensen here. The Paddle Star's not gonna get him. And now Palafox is the one who's gotta be careful. He gets himself back away. C9 walking off on this one. Jensen needs another bubble.
Good bubble accuracy, but just not enough damage to actually find one of these kills. Palafox also able to hold on to his real flash to that, despite how many times you saw him flash in that fight. None of those were his. CLG, you can feel the desperation. Dhokla understood, like, me dying for Berserker is still a net positive trade for us, so he kind of brute forced that in and pinned Berserker up against that pit so that they could finalize that kill, but still the fact that Poome got dropped early on meant that they're fighting an uphill battle. I think CLG played that one decently for how far behind they are, but still end up losing the Dragon, the soul stacking going in C9's favor still.
4 minutes and 10 seconds from now is going to just feel awful for CLG because you got to go into another situation like that, and you cannot lose the Dragon now because then that is the soul. Man, it's getting worse. Things just keep getting bleaker and bleaker for CLG as this game goes on.
I mean, they're probably feeling the same way we are. You know, you're in comms, you're like, all right, well, That was our dragon attempt. Now, do we just chill for 4 minutes? Do we brute force something? It's up to C9 exactly where you go on the map. C9 have so much control in their pocket that if they start a Baron, you're like, great, maybe we can actually win this fight.
Okay, C9 starting up that objective. CLG coming in trying to challenge for it. Palafox getting caught out. He might just get rooted up here by the Yuumi. However, save from Poome, but he's the sacrificial lamb. Fudge just cuts Luger to pieces. Dhokla falls too. Berserker grabbing the kill on that one. 4 dead, make it 5. CLG is aced. Cloud9 doesn't even lose anything on the health bar.
Cloud9 baits them into Baron, finds the clean turn-off, forcing the sums out early and chase down all 5 members of CLG for the ace. 30 seconds for some of these members. This could be game right here.
I think it's just game over, Mark. They don't need the Baron. The only person that might be up in time is going to be the Senna, the Tahm Kench. Those 2 alone are not defending against a full 5-man push. Throw out the Azir ulti just for fun to get rid of some of the minions. And that's it. GG, Cloud9, take down CLG.
A slow, controlled win out of Cloud9. They held on in the bot lane, stopped the early tide of aggression out of CLG, and then started winning in the mid game with their superior team fighting and split push composition. Very clean win out of Cloud9, a team win.
Yeah, they just looked good. Everybody was doing what they needed to do. Blaber was keeping the tempo high in the jungle. He became the meatball. Yeah.
Very respectful. I love the sportsmanship out of Cloud9. They're just such great guys, all of them.
Top-level sportsmanship here. You love to see it. You love to see it.
Disappointed looks on the faces of CLG. You gotta feel bad for them.
It's okay. Everybody has a day like that. Everybody has a game like that.
They'll bounce back.
Yeah. Cloud9, the special props over to Berserker and Zven. We already talked about how well they were handling things in the bottom lane, like surviving the dive, being able to jump on one of the pincers before they were both able to close in. Just the way that these guys play together, they're a lot of fun.
Zven with the signature pose. He's been doing that since like 2015, OG Neil's pose.
Hell yeah. That's brand power right there.
It's always the same pose across the years. I gotta say, C9 is looking real scary right now in the LCS. Everyone thought this team had an incredible ceiling, but it was a question of how quickly they can get there. They beat 100 Thieves last week. They beat CLG, who was only 1 loss before this. Like, they are ahead of schedule.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the start was rocky because they didn't have the full roster. You start off 0-3. They tie their record at 3-3 now. This does not look like a 3-3 team.
No, this is the most deceptive 3-3 you're going to see in the LCS. This play right here is just so doomed for CLG. Baits them in such an easy turnoff. I love the split. Fudge identifying that Luger has no protection on him because all the defense went to getting Palafox out of that situation. It's an easy chase down for the rest of the team, and everyone can kind of keep pace, except for Jensen. He's left in the back, but Berserker scooting along, teamed up with Blaber and Zven to find these kills. Just an easy final team fight for them, chasing down the members of CLG.
And it's what you were talking about. It's CLG just waiting, seeing what Cloud9's going to do, seeing if there's any angle to punish. No, they're not walking into that play thinking, all right, here it is, we won the lottery. But it's like, well, we got to try something. And unfortunately, Cloud9 was just too far ahead at that point. There wasn't a lot they could really do about it.
No, and it was one of those games, too, where I think we talked a lot about from the CLG perspective, knowing that they were in the driver's seat early on in the game. Yeah. And C9 just sidestepped all the aggression, made it through fine to the mid game. And then as a team, they just collectively win against the other team comp, especially since they had the gold lead because they did such a great job farming across the board that it's just such a clean team win. You're like, who do I shout out here? Is it, Zven denying all the engagement in the bot lane? Is it Berserker's team fighting? Is it Fudge split push? Like, you could literally probably give player of the game to anyone here and I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, everybody played their role and they played their role correctly. There wasn't an angle for CLG to really take. They were losing direct fights. They were losing the split push. They fell behind in terms of the tempo. Like I was talking about, the farming advantages. Just the CS difference was massive in both the jungle and bottom lane farming roles.
Yeah, that was probably what really did them in a little bit, was even though CLG got the first Rift Herald and had some good plays to get kills, the fact that you're fighting this uphill battle of just naturally being behind gold from the CSing makes it even more difficult. And I think that's one of the things that makes C9 scary, is just top to bottom in this roster, they're stacked. And so they're going to be a little bit of a skill check in the lane.
I mean, when you think about it, on average of what is it, like 14, 15 minions is as much gold as a kill or something like that. And okay, top is plus 25, jungle's plus 60, bottom's plus 60.
It's like we got 7 kills out of nowhere.
We're doing great. But we're wrapping up the day with Cloud9's Fudge in the Bud Light Breakdown.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bud Light Breakdown. Captain Flowers didn't lie to you. We're joined by Fudge, top laner Cloud9. now on a 3-0 streak with the intended starting roster.
There it is.
Smashing CLG. How does it feel, my friend, to kind of like be back into picking up steam, back to the winning ways of Cloud9?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I'm definitely used to it from 2021. Spring, I had a really good team initially, so we like actually won quite a bit. But then obviously spring this year, we were not so good. I was not very good as a mid laner.
Wait, I was gonna say, blame the mid laner.
Yeah, it's
It's pretty easy to just blame the mid laner.
Mid jungle is broken and we lost, so it's my fault. But you know, it feels really nice, obviously, to just like go back to winning. I still think we have a lot of team errors and also individual errors. As you can see on my team fights in those games, you know, a little rough, but I'm working on it.
Going back to the point that you mentioned about like your mid lane, you still got all pro third. It felt like, I know there was a lot of comments about the mid lane pool in the LCS at the time being pretty weak.
Yeah.
But it felt like you had got into a new role, performed much better than a lot of people expected, though you have a high standard for yourself. How did you actually feel about that?
It was definitely nice getting third team all pro. I felt like I got some recognition, even though in my own head I was like thinking, oh, I'm pretty bad, you know. I'm not to the standard that I wanted to be, obviously, because there's high expectations, especially after summer. I felt like I was definitely hyped up a lot by the community. And then after playing mid lane, the hype obviously dies down when you're not as good as you were. But it was still really nice, obviously. I felt like I was improving quite a bit throughout the split, but yeah, I didn't really get to the level I wanted to be at. But I'm still happy with the progress, obviously.
That makes sense.
I will follow up to that because when Zven was on here, he was talking about role swapping,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh yeah, like I was gonna interrupt my like AD carry. Obviously, going back to top lane, you look very comfortable, but how much did it interrupt kind of this rapid improvement we saw over the year prior, and then role swapping, and then coming back?
Yeah, definitely role swapping. I definitely lost a bit of what I had in top lane, I think, like in terms of like the mechanical aspect of the champions. I think I gained a lot of perspective playing mid lane though, from like learning all of like how jungle wants to play, how support wants to play, and obviously how mid lane wants to play around everyone else. And also what they need, right? I can like look at like what's happening mid lane and tell what Jensen needs for me to like help him, stuff like that.
Is that where the rotation from top? That was really good. I love that.
Yeah, I tried. I mean, I wasted Ghost, but no, it was the intention was good. The intention was good.
Yeah, the idea was great.
It also means now that Jensen he has no excuses, right? Because you're like, I played the role. I played the role. You can come gank for me, bro. I know it.
He played well. He played well.
He did play very well.
Good.
In terms of like moving back into the top lane, right? Like that's always long been seen as like the most isolated role and everything like that. Like, how has your perspective changed on the top lane specifically, having had that opportunity to go kind of look and feel out the rest of the map and then jump back into it?
I definitely think it's changed a lot because I realize how much top laners can do, but they don't really do it. Like they aren't really aware of how much they can do on the map, I think, in terms of like invading enemy jungle camps, timing their camps so that you can like invade with your entire team, using your support roams, using your mid lane roams. I think people don't really use their teammates as much in top lane. They sort of just have like the fixed idea that top lane's like 1v1, you know?
Right.
And I think really good teams, especially in like China and Korea, use top lane. They sort of like play really, really well around top lane to punish the enemy top lane, even if it's not like you're outplaying the enemy top lane in 1v1.
And just a little follow-up to that, now that you're watching Zven tackle a role swap as well in front of you, right after you've done it, like, how do you kind of appreciate how he has approached changing roles as compared to the way that you did?
Yeah, I think he's actually doing a really, really good job, and he has a really good mentality because first week coming into scrims, he was like, guys, I'm sorry, but I might have to end like the first couple of days. I might have to end the first couple of days and just like all in, you know, because you really have to understand the limits of like, especially all ins level 1, 2, 3 in bot lane. Bot lane is like a complete banger games, like always.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated his mentality coming into like the role swap, and also I think that he's not really getting in his own head.
That's good.
I noticed, like, sometimes I would get in my own head, like, oh, maybe I should, like, maybe I'm not good as a mid laner. Maybe it's, like, not going to work out, stuff like that. I don't really notice any signs of that, so I think he's doing a really good job.
Yeah. I do know, and he's been outspoken with us, both on camera and off camera, about how, like, of course, when he role swaps is when we go into Enchanter meta, and he's stuck playing Yuumi. That said, though, I'm like, catching that bubble so that he can jump
that
at,
was
like things like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy crap, this is 3-week support,
Yeah.
you know, like what a wild little play from him. So it's just kind of cool to see somebody swap and come up with kind of, at times, game-changing plays that early on in a role swap.
I definitely think that his like overall game understanding and champion understanding of other roles is actually way higher than definitely most ADC mains. I think most ADC mains are generally not as well versed in other roles. I think he's like one of the smartest ADC mains that I've talked to. Obviously.
Clicky click, pew pew.
In terms of like his actual like knowledge, even though like, you know, obviously ADC is very important mechanically.
Right.
Maybe that's played a role into it, but what would you say, first of all, did you expect to be, like your team be playing as well as you guys are now with your bot lane just coming in? Were you surprised by it? Do you feel like the current practice methods, because I've heard from some of the players that it's like, oh, it's just you guys have gotten pretty quick at it just coming in with how you guys have, you know, had conversations. Like, what would you attribute to the kind of rapid success you guys are having right now?
I think we're all just already better than most of our counterparts, honestly.
Yeah.
I think I was honestly surprised because I thought that like when I role swap back to top lane that other top laners would be like maybe better than me at some of these matchups, stuff like that, but it didn't really feel like that was the case. Also, I think Jensen is, I mean, I'm not going to flame him. His is better than I expected, honestly. I expected that he would have a rough start because he didn't play for a split, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to like come back after a whole split and just like be good still. And I think he's still really good and he's never like outlaned by anyone, like especially in scrims. I think he's doing really, really well. So I'm pretty happy with the start.
Yeah.
I do still think though that even though we're winning these games, I don't think they're very clean.
Yeah, they're not. And I think to another point that you mentioned within your answer was about, you know, the role in top lane. And I think you, in the past, when you were playing top lane, took advantage of counter picks pretty easily and consistently, the creativity, the large pool that you have, and also just seeing the Tryndamere pick after the buffs in a really good matchup. You're not really seeing that many teams take counter picks top lane.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on that?
I think people are not very creative.
Yeah.
That's my perspective. But also, they aren't really willing to first-time things. Like for me, this Tryndamere game, I haven't played a game of Tryndamere in scrims ever since last year. And I haven't played it in solo queue, champs queue. Like this is literally my first time Tryndamere since last year.
There it is.
There we go.
But I mean, the champion's obviously not like extremely difficult. It's not the same as like Aurelia. It's not the same as like Fiora, right?
Yeah.
But I do think like generally, counter picks aren't really going to stomp lane. I think the best thing that you can do with counter picks is mainly countering their team comp, and you really pick a really good champion for the game in 5v5. And I think Tryndamere was really, really good pick. Obviously, I don't think Yone blind is also that good, but
I'm told I think we have a highlight play from Fudge from this game.
Highlight play.
Oh, no. It is.
Can we take a look at that?
I'm interested.
Well, I mean, Tryndamere is a high execution champion.
Yes.
You could tell I was first time
with real playmaking potential.
Oh, baby. Watch it. Wow, I played this fight so terribly.
I see the play, though. You have ulti up.
Here it is.
E, flash, order, boom.
Dead. Oh, wait, you're dead, though. Ah, not quite.
It happens. You know?
Yeah, it does.
You know,
it happens.
Do you remember Perks Tryndamere? Do you remember?
Yes,
he did not use the R key.
Yeah.
That extra action.
But if I remember correctly, Cloud9 won that split.
And
So all signs point to good. Yeah. We have one other piece of business that we got to take care of while we're lucky enough to have you on the desk. This lovely trophy that Emily. It's actually kind of heavy. She's gonna hot potato that over to you. We'd like to officially award you, and I know this is coming almost a year late, but FTX, having become a sponsor of the LCS, has also sponsored the Most Improved Award, and Fudge will be the first recipient of that. Now, it's important to note that this is for your performance last year. So it's the improvement that you made last year.
He's telling me I'm not improving anymore.
It's the
I'm watching up.
All right, that's one way to take it. The other way to take it is I'm saying,
like in-depth analytical questions. Dash is just here to flame you.
I'm just here to flame you.
That's good.
No, really, what I was trying to say is you did so much improving last year, it'd be hard for you to snag it again this year.
I would say so, yeah.
But I do want to talk to you kind of about what the award means, because we will be doing the same thing this time around. For yourself, as a young player out there on the LCS stage, one, what did you attribute the majority of your growth to? But two, how would you even reflect on your growth? Like, what aspects of your, top lane play or just your League of Legends play in general last year do you think, actually elevated?
Yeah, I think the people I would attribute my improvement to, mainly Max Waldo, who's the head coach C9, Viego V2, who's the positional coach, and he was helping me a lot last year. He's not helping me as much this split. He's mainly working with Jensen now.
Gotcha.
And also LS. I think he's someone I talk to a lot, and he's someone that definitely shaped the way I thought about the game.
Very cool.
So I think those three people are the main people that helped me improve. And in terms of what I improved on, I feel I improved on was mainly, I think, the perspective of how top lane should play the game and how other roles have sort of interconnected with it.
Yeah.
I definitely think I was brainless, we can say. I remember when I called every other top laner brainless. I still am brainless.
Oh no, you slipped into it.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still brainless, if compared to what could be. But I definitely have improved a lot in terms of my knowledge of the game.
Less brainless.
Less brainless.
Yeah, okay.
Less brainless.
There it is.
Good English lessons, guys.
Yeah. What would be maybe something that you would encourage young, either rookies or just people who are, in the first year or two of their careers? We've, in the last couple of years, definitely generated more conversation around who will be the next era of LCS greats. But in order to achieve that, a lot of work has to be put in. So just as you're still, years away from the twilight of your career, but still with enough kind of relative distance over the rookies, what would be something you would say to a young player stepping onto your team about how they should approach the LCS and learning?
I definitely think people focus very heavily on playing the game a lot rather than thinking about it a lot. I think people are very, very, they sort of just play the game to play the game. I think it's very, it's very.
There's a
theme. There's a theme. There's a theme. Yeah. But I think people have to have way more intention when it comes to playing the game, and they have to go into games knowing what they want to improve. I think if you don't do that, you'll slowly improve. It's likely you'll slowly improve, mechanically. But I think it won't really be noticeable. The improvement. I think it's very important that you shape the ideas around how you think you should play, and constantly challenge them. I think that's something that players have to do.
The classic work smarter, not harder. I like it.
Yeah, like that. One other question for you, just as you take a look at the field of, 49 other players, because we won't include yourself. In this year of 2022, is there a player that kind of jumps to the front of your mind as somebody who would maybe be making the case currently for a year of improvement?
This is interesting because he didn't actually play last split in LCS.
Okay.
I actually think Dhokla has improved a lot.
Nice.
He's
happy because
I'm glad you brought that up because it's something I brought up to them off air, and we kind of had the same thing where we're but he didn't play LCS last year, which makes it tough to evaluate.
Yeah, it's hard to evaluate, but I definitely remember playing against him in solo queue, and obviously I played against him in Academy. I think he's improved. Not gonna say that word.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, but we felt it. We felt
He has improved a lot. And whenever I lane against him, I feel like he's actually one of the better laners in the LCS. So
cool.
Nice.
I think Dhokla is definitely someone I would choose, or have as a candidate, I guess.
Let me expand the conversation and question to the two of you, just as we kind of roll through summer. Any other individuals that you two want to talk about around options for most improved?
So, because we did talk about this going into it. For me, Contractz is a pretty good example of it. Last split, he, of course, CLG as an organization was suffering, but for him individually, wasn't playing nearly as well as we saw him when he came in a few games on Evil Geniuses. And now it feels like he's performing really well. I mean, clearly CLG has been performing well around that as well. So I think in terms of just this year, Contractz comes to name.
Emily?
I'll stick with Jose Deodo for now. I do think, again, I've been really, really critical of his early pathing in terms of, efficiency, but I think his lane communication has improved so much. What he does seems to have a lot more thought and purpose behind it, where last year I felt like he really, really struggled against LCS caliber junglers, and the jungle pool overall is so strong that props to him for improving so much over the course of a year.
Yeah, I think I would maybe currently struggle to argue either of these two names over the three that you just mentioned, but I think people who should be in consideration would be a BlazeOlive and Palafox.
Yeah.
I think Palafox looks pretty incredible in a lot of CLG's wins, and particularly on that Taliyah pick and his ability to kind of understand the windows of using like creative walls to section off fights, things like that. And BlazeOlive as well has had a couple of like really big plays, I think, for his squad, particularly today on the Azir. But a couple of names I would consider, but I'm not sure maybe meet the bar of the three that you mentioned.
The Dhokla point for sure is really good. And it reminds me, because I think coming into this conversation, we're talking about players coming from Academy into LCS. Dhokla has been that player who has just been insane. And the last time, it's actually funny that you mentioned it, because from a player yourself that came from Academy to the LCS, you came into being a top 3 top laner, like, by the end of the split, easily. And Dhokla is already making a name for that with how well he's been performing in lane. So I really want to see how he ends the split.
Again, it's only week 3, so we got plenty of runway for all of our players to make the case for most improved. We are only 3 weeks into the split, and each team still has their eyes on winning the summer title. For each of your favorite teams, though, doing their best to bring home that trophy, Grubhub is also giving you a little discount to get $10 off your Grubhub order of $25 or more for deliveries only through July 3rd with code 10LCS. 10LCS. Terms do apply, so make sure you check those out. But while you're getting food delivered, check out this.
What's the play, Dad?
From BlazeOlive, delivering the win for his team with a little bit of a whoop-de-scoop. Scoop,
Ooh,
scoopity whoop, whoop.
He actually played really well this game.
He did play really well this game.
I was like insane Azir after he won the game, whatever.
I think this was the play in question, too. I love it because there's the flash, the dash from Lucian, just the jerking straight back into the team. Amazing play. And overall, like, Golden Guardians are, as a team, it depends. Like, hot and cold, depends on the draft. Also just depends on, like, the players in the moment. But that game was exceptional. They had a lead. They didn't throw it or, like, basically, like, run from it. Last split, it was the entire conversation of holding a gold lead, throwing it near in mid-game. So it's nice to see that they're on track of being able to maintain it.
I love you calling that out, right? Because that was the identity of Golden Guardians last split. These massive early leads, not always able to convert, but it's also very cool to see them step back into the arena. I know they were quarantined. BlazeOlive himself said, hey, it's a lot tougher to play from home. You can probably attest, having had
Honestly,
also welcome.
Or are you on the other side of the fence on that one?
Honestly, for me, it's like, I just wake up like an hour before the game. I'm not chilling. Maybe that's why I lost. Honestly, actually, well, we won the games.
There it is. Hard to say, right?
Hard to say.
Either way, good on BlazeOlive for that huge play today. Let's take a look at our pogs from each of the 5 games that we had today. See who the top performers were.
Jensen on the Yuumi.
Hey,
this
Who
is
said
unbelievable.
supports can't carry?
Honestly, this is bullshit. He played Yuumi, bro.
He played Yuumi, bro. So are you petitioning that no Yuumi player should ever get a pog?
I mean, I guess the Zoe thing was good. Yeah, no, man, I'm delusional. I'm just butthurt.
Okay, who are you throwing your vote for? Don't say yourself.
No, I'm not gonna say myself. Probably Blaber.
For the record,
First death.
I just got word from production on how the voting broke down on that game specifically. There was a tie in the vote, at which point typically we'll go to stats for the tie break. The tie broke it on the Zoe bubble. That was it. That was the tie break. When it was an even vote on Analyst. So, but it was between him and Berserker, so...
Yeah, I guess he didn't even do that intentionally, I'm sure.
That would actually be so brilliant.
We'll let him have that.
We'll let him have that one, right? He needs confidence.
That's true.
Yeah, right? Part of improvement is building confidence as well. All right, let's take a look at the standings here. Conclusion of day 1 of week 3. We got EG still in first at 5-1. 100 Thieves, CLG, and Team Liquid Honda all at 4-2. Cloud9, who's leading that pack, all tied for 3rd, or I guess what would that be, 5th in actuality, at 3-3 before we close things out with TSM, Dignitas, and Immortals Progressive. That brings us to our schedule for tomorrow, where we kick things off with Dignitas versus TSM before EG goes up against Golden Guardians. Cloud9 in that marquee matchup of the day. Slot number 3 against FlyQuest before Team Liquid Honda and CLG go up against each other. And we close things out with Immortals Progressive against 100 Thieves. Cloud9 FlyQuest, how you feeling about it?
I don't know. Fly Phillip has been looking pretty scary. He's been playing pretty well. I'm a little worried about him, but I think my team will do pretty well, you know?
You think so?
Yeah, I think we'll stump them in like 20 minutes, but...
Okay. Oh! Oh!
Let's go.
20 minutes in this meta?
I think so, yeah.
I'm
I like
ready for it.
We can make it happen.
Change that meta. Flip it
Make
on
it
its
happen.
head, my
People
friend.
are delusional. You can win early games. People just aren't playing well.
If you can. I hope LCS teams follow your example going
We can't,
forward.
honestly. I'm being extremely.
If I don't see a level 3 top turret dive tomorrow, I'm going to be so mad.
Delusional.
Charts totally didn't change. We're having a first-hand.
Yeah, I was just saying, I want one of two things. I either want Belveth or I want level 3 turret
I'm
dives.
surprised we haven't seen Belbeth,
Same.
by the way. I'm
Just
really
like us.
surprised.
Crazy.
So we've talked to some people
Yeah.
off the record.
Do you want? I don't.
A jungler and
Yeah, we
a
did talk
coach.
to a couple
And
junglers and coaches.
basically, the end result of this very small poll that we did is that she's difficult to play, and they're worried about like early clear times. And then additionally, just like not enough practice.
Yeah.
Well, and her fragility, I think, is one of the things I've heard specifically. Like, get caught out in the wrong place and just 100-0.
Also, you have to flip Herald, fight to the death, or else.
there it is.
Both
Hey.
teams will do that. They will
Yes.
fight Herald, 5v5, and
Yep.
whoever wins the game. That's
Yeah.
it.
All right. Well, hey, if you're curious, rewind to the beginning of the show where Emily actually broke down the usage of Herald that we've seen along with
Yeah.
Belveth and how powerful it can be. But that's going to be it for the show. Fudge, thank you so much for closing it out with us.
Thank you.
Congrats again on the
Appreciate it.
trophy. Hope you have a place at home.
Don't drop it on your head.
Put that. But that's it for the LCS. We'll catch you all back here tomorrow. Now, on behalf of myself, the cast, and the entire broadcast crew, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, be good to each other. Good night.
Thank you.
Oh, that was terrible.
Oh, we just
Throw the
dodged
trophy.
it.
All right. Don't throw the trophy. Oh, also.